Hello everyone. This is an impromptu live that I promised you this morning and another impromptu live. So I don't know how many of you will be here. I do know that Maxie's going to have a little fit, and I am a single doggy mom today while Cheryl is at work. So we'll see if I have to go kind of pacify him a little bit. So what I thought I would do is I'm getting ready to make some bouillon. I'm going to make it a little bit differently than I usually do. So we can see about that. I'm going to go give him something. Well, let's wait. Let's take a deep breath and maybe he'll just chill out. But I do want to check just one thing, that I'm actually streaming live. What you think? Oh, did I just see a heart? I did. There are people here. I am no longer worried. Yay! Thanks for hanging out with me and my weird bang thing this is doing. So, I don't know. You know, when you're watching your hair, it's hard to just see all the things. Yeah, Nikki, the pollen is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And do you see the haze? Some of that haze there is from pollen, because it's tree pollen all week. Hey Diana, it's good to see you again. And when I was talking this morning, because I was showing you guys outside, I put on my old cloth mask from the pandemic, which I think I'm going to be wearing most of the week as I venture out. Because it's not like it's just bad today. It was pretty bad yesterday. It's going to get probably a little progressively worse. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. But you guys had also mentioned that you wanted me to make some bitchin sauce. So when I went and looked at the recipe, it is not very whole food, plant-based, no oil friendly. I haven't had it in years. So I may not be doing like a one-to-one. Oh, that's a really good idea to clean my eyeglasses. Actually, they don't look too bad. My phone screen looked way worse just from being outside filming. It was crazy. And the dog did want to sit on the deck for a little bit, so I let him do that. And the cat wanted to sit outside for a little bit, but I think we're all inside now. So this may not be the only bitchin sauce kind of thing we do, but I have a bunch of okara that I've been saving because I've been working on the Ninja Creamy ebook, the new one. And I've been making some amazing ice cream with this okara. But don't worry, I'm also looking for other substitutes. And one of the things why people were using almonds in their, the lighting is just not that great. Here you go. You can kind of see it. See how it's kind of lumpy like ricotta? And that's why it makes such a good ricotta. Almonds make a good ricotta because when you blend them up, they look a little bit like this too. So that can be really, really, really helpful. So I thought what we would do instead of using oil and almonds is we'll try doing one and possibly two of them, two different flavors with the okara. And for those of you who are like, what's okara? We can talk about that a little bit while I cut up things for my bouillon. So I have some frozen onions in here. Oh, Deborah says I've been sneezing. Yeah, pollen's, I'm the same way. So she says, been really looking forward to spring weather, but don't like the pollen, and that is me. So I think what happens is the pollen season keeps getting a little bit longer every time, and I'm ready for it not to be winter and everything to start blooming. So I'm glad I took you guys out on the walk the other day, because it's a little crazy now. You wouldn't really see much. Hey, Plants Only Muncher, it's good to see you. Oh, Diana just bought it in Ninja Creamy. Excellent. Do you have the first book already? It might go on sale with the new book, so that could be a little bit in advance, but we'll see. I'm just going to throw this together real quick. So usually what I do is I cut up onions in big chunks, but this is the only onions I have right now. We're already minced in the freezer. They've been out for a little bit. I also have a lot of scallions from the Thai class, so we're going to use some of those and some fresh herbs that I have. But that's why so it's a little bit different than my recipe, and if you want to find the exact recipe, you can look on plantbasedinstantpot.com, Bouillon for it in the Instant Pot, Healthy Slow Cooking, look up Bouillon, and you can find out how to do it in the slow cooker. You can put it in the Dutch oven inside your oven, which I recommend for winter time and not when you're using your air conditioning, or on top of the stove. So I still have some pretty big ones of these, and actually we got some cool ones. Look, this is broken now. Look at this beautiful onion bloom. Hopefully you got, I've got to work. We just moved this camera too, so there you go. Isn't that pretty? We went to the farmer's market and got a few things. So I'm going to cut up at least the harder parts of this, which I don't usually do, but I'm going to see how it works out. And then I'll let you know if you should do it or not. I'm also thinking with these green parts, I can make some pesto or something like that. I mean, I have a lot of them. And so I'm just going to I'm making kind of a double or triple batch. I still don't want to just put only green leaves in there because I think it's just not going to stand up as well to the cooking. And this is an experiment. Like many things are an experiment. Oh, Lydia says she loves the bouillon recipe. Awesome. I love the bouillon. I love having the bouillon in my freezer. So, and also I was looking at these scallions from class and I was like, I'd like to use some more of that. And then I was like, well, I'll just use regular onions. And then I went, I don't have any, because now with my fancy smancy Breville, I went ahead and chopped up all the onions I got before. So probably after we get off, Cheryl's going to come home and we're going to go to Costco and I'll be buying some onions. So we might even make it where I do the Breville this week. I know I've been meaning to put that up. The other really important ingredient is celery. Now, I did just cut up some celery roots or celeriac, but where I live, it's really expensive. So I don't want to use it in something I'm just going to puree and it just tastes like celery. I'd rather use it for soup or something super fun. Yeah, and Betty Ann says, I'm sorry, there's not a good place here. I think that might be a good place where you can read everything that's said. If you could make a bitchin sauce, that would be whole food plant-based ingredients. And I was even thinking, instead of like using Bragg's or soy sauce, we could use miso, which I know a lot of you, especially people who follow Dr. Greger, feel really awesome about. So I cut that off, and I'm going to rinse some of these other stalks that now have exposed dirt on them. That was, you know, I rinsed it with the bottom on, but you can't ever get all the things in the nooks and crannies until you cut that off. So my goal, because this celery is getting a little bit hinky, it's like, I could still make cream of celery soup with it. So if you're like, let's see, I want to keep all these leaves in there because they're awesome, but I'm cutting off a bad piece there. And you can change this to make it work for what you have or what you like. You could put mushrooms in here. Yeah, I'm thinking most of that part doesn't look so good either. Let me, one more leaf to cut off and I'll throw this in the compost. And what I like about the bouillon the best, besides if you don't have, it maybe celery is expensive where you are and celery root is inexpensive, then use it. If, you know, parsnips are easier to get than carrots, use those. And so I'm just piling all of this in. On the slow cooker, I don't usually add any water to it. I was thinking of doing it when I was going to only be using scallions, but then when I found the frozen onions, I was like, okay, I'm good. And I'm just going to cut these carrots in chunks. Even though you're cutting stuff up for this, it shouldn't feel like a lot of work. And typically, I do this once a quarter. And then I just freeze it in ice cube trays, and I just pull out a cube or two when I need it. And you guys have seen me do that a lot. In the slow cooker, I'm not really worried about how long it cooks. I'm just going to put it on kind of you can put it on a high heat if you're going to be at home. If you're going to be out and about, I'm going to go ahead and just cut that one so I don't have to come back and do it a second time. I would cook it on low, just on the safe side. In this 360 slow cooker that I have, the high is very high. So I can actually put grits on there in high and they're ready really, really quick. Hey Ryan, awesome. Yeah, just impromptu live. I thought I would have a schedule and I'm sort of working on one. Yeah, just Bitchin sauce I saw was anywhere between $6 and $7 for a very small amount. We're going to make about that small amount just because I want to make two, and we'll see how that works. It's basically, it's an almond oil sauce that has some saltiness from like soy sauce or aminos, something like that. Usually it has lemon in it, garlic. It's, you know, that's kind of the base one. I see a lot of the recipes had cumin and cayenne in it, but I don't have any to taste here with me, so I'm going to just be making my own version. I don't know, what should we call it instead of bitchin sauce? Should we call it I'm really happy sauce? You know, I need some name inspiration. Okay, so I have a bunch of fresh parsley that's been growing. So this is how much spring it is and this is the one outside. This is the one in front where it gets full sun. This is the one out outside my kitchen door. So I was like, let's use some of that. And I'm just going to cut it a little bit. And probably get rid of some of these stems. And then I have some fresh thyme as well. Come back here. There's a little piece of green onion trying to hide from me. And then I got a lot of thyme because I have a lot. So this didn't even make a dent on my thyme plant. So we're definitely a month or two ahead on all the things. So see how everything's just kind of layered in here? I'm going to put on the lid. This one doesn't have it off, so I'm plugging it in right now because we didn't want it plugged in before. I'm going to stick those little thyme pieces in. And I'm going to turn it to about, I'm going to go ahead and turn it to 3 since I'm at home. So most slow cookers have warm, low, and high. This has 1, 2, 3, and 4. And like I said, 4 will cook grits or oatmeal in like an hour, so that's much higher than the normal high. Yes, and you can, Ryan, you absolutely can make it in the Instant Pot. And ooh, there's another piece escaping. This is a little bit bigger than I normally make in this size, but that's okay. And then we're going to do one of the Bitchin sauces blended and one not. So the plain one we're not going to blend. And I'm going to take notes because I haven't made it before. Sorry, I'm just rinsing everything off so we can start fresh for our other recipes. But I often get a lot of questions about the bouillon, and no one thinks it really can be just that easy. But it is. And then what we'll do, so obviously you're not going to see me blending this. So basically as soon as the carrots are soft, the onions have mellowed. And we'll see if the spring onions mellow as much. If not, I don't care. If it's stronger, I'm going to look at it more of like I bought a different bouillon, because you do. And we'll see how that goes. So I'm thinking, actually, for the first one, I'm going to use garlic powder, I think. We'll get some onion powder. And I'm going to try and measure out all the things. I've got some tasting spoons over here. Witchin sauce. Oh, happy witches sauce. Witchin sauce I like a lot. I got to write that down so I don't forget it. Witchin sauce. That is awesome. That is awesome. Okay, you guys have just made my whole day. I am that simple and easy, actually. So the first one, let's just make it really, really easy. Let's mix it in a bowl. I think the hardest thing is going to be mixing in some of the miso. So I'm going to take, I'm trying to decide, let's start with half a teaspoon of miso. And it's just because more people are happy with miso as a salt option. We may end up needing a little bit more, but let's start with a half. And also it is hot. I'm going to see if I can turn the air up a little bit. And yes, for those of you with snow, nope, here we go. I'm over here. Okay. I'm like, it's just the first day of April. Everybody needs to back off a little bit. All right, I got a new thing too. I didn't see this at H Mart, but they had this at, I think it was Li Ming's. And it's very much like that super thin, almost screen-like filter. So I was curious about playing with that a little bit, but what we can do for right now is we can use it while we squeeze our lemon. Oh, how funny. It's so tight. Look, the lemon juice, I'm going to have to move it to get it to go down. So I'm saying this is probably about a tablespoon of lemon juice, and it is very seedy. Seedy like the bad side of town. So I'm just going to move this around just like we do when we do milk, right? And this is just getting all of the stuff out. Let's see if I can get a little more juice out of this. The only thing I don't love is this handle. That work? That sort of works. I'm going to get a reamer out from in here. Yes, people were telling me it was snowing places, and here it is like all the way spring. Like, I thought it was getting to be pretty springy, and I was excited to show everybody the flowers, but I didn't think the trees were going to pop yet. I thought we had another couple of weeks, but it used to be you couldn't plant tomato plants until after my birthday, which is in April. And I'm just getting all this little stuff so I don't have to futz with it. That might be, I'll say half a lemon, but half lemon juiced. And we did half teaspoon miso. And I'm just going to kind of take this. See if I can do this without shaking the world. Look at that. We moved this overhead camera, so I'm just trying to go ahead and dissolve the miso a little bit in the lemon juice before we add anything else, so that there's not just a clump of miso. Doc Rock is in the house. Ooh, and Doc Rock makes his own miso. And are you gonna get? Oh, he's gonna send me some, you guys. I'm so excited. So Doc Rock is my my video coach, actually, and he's just probably going, "Don't blame her mistakes on me." Oh, that's awesome. He escaped the LA rains by just 2 hours. So are you on the plane now, Doc? Are you headed back to Hawaii? We were talking about you Saturday when we had our meeting. All good things, all good things. Yeah, you guys know that when my shopaholic kicks in is Halloween time. So Home Goods and TJ Maxx puts out all their Halloween stuff in August and September, and I go constantly to get things like this. Someone had said, it was really funny. You guys can see they're like, oh, you mistakenly left your Halloween mat out. And I'm like, mistake? I wait for those times so I can decorate my house. And one time I'll show you guys, I have this whole collection of these cool old timey looking Joanna Parker Halloween stuff. But the reason I'm spending so much time on, that's a good question. I think this was Hacho miso, but it was a dark miso. A red miso would work. Honestly, any miso is going to work in this because we're using it in place of salt. So there was a study that Dr. Greger talked about, and it was about how the sodium in miso is easier for the body than table salt. And so since then, I've noticed a lot of people have asked me to tell them how much miso they can use in a recipe. Since we're taking the nuts and the oil out of this one, I thought let's do the best way we could do salt. If you can't do salt at all, maybe you have a kidney issue or something like that, then you could just leave it out, honestly. And what I would do is I would put my salt substitute in instead as we're doing this. So my salt-free salt substitute is so simple, and I call it a plain salt substitute because most of them have things like Mrs. Dash has 80,000 herbs and spices, or so-and-so has, you know, a Greek salt-free seasoning, a Mexican salt-free seasoning, something like that. So for my plain salt-free seasoning, 1 tablespoon onion powder, 1 tablespoon garlic powder, 1 teaspoon ground celery seed, mixed together. You can use a spice grinder, just mix it really well. Then use it like you would salt, and it doesn't impart any, like, it's not basil-y, it's not full of cumin, it's not full of a lot of things like that. So let me show you this. Doc, one day I'll set up my foot pedal. But so see, it's really, really incorporated well. So that probably was the longest part of this recipe. Yep, and Doc is saying, Doc is awesome. So Doc, you're already back in Honolulu? That's amazing. And so he's saying all soybean misos are the same. The color is how long you leave it or how long it ferments. And since Doc makes miso, let's move you over here. White is 3 to 4 months, tan 6 months, red or dark is 9 to 12 months. Linda Peterson from True North, how's it going? Tell us all. So Doc, we're making Bitchin sauce. I got them to name it. It's so awesome because we're making kind of a whole food plant-based, no oil, no nut Bitchin sauce, which you may or may not be familiar with. So the reason, since we're doing it like this and we're not going to be pureeing a bunch of things, when I was looking at Bitchin sauce, it is kind of chunky again, kind of like, and we'll do this again for anybody who's just come in. So this is just okara. So this is the pulp left over from the soy milk making process. And you've heard me talk about it before, but we can answer some more questions about that. I've got a whole goo gob of it, which is why I'm going to see, look, this one, it depends on how long you drain it, how less liquidy it is, like, you know, so that's up to you. But what we're using this for here, is that I'm obsessed with okara, and I think it's just this amazing leftover thing that we can do so much with. We can make ricotta cheese with it. We can make vegan cream cheese. I've made vegan goat cheese with it. Like, it's just really lends itself to a lot of yummy things. Okay, so for the first one of the things they said about bitchin sauce, because it uses almonds and oil, just like when you use almonds to make a vegan almond ricotta, you have a lot of texture. So I'm going to use this one that has a little more texture in it. And I'm going to start with about a half a cup of the okara. We'll plop that in there. And then we'll get some, and we'll see how we're going because we're making this up as we go along. And if your okara is wetter and maybe your sauce is wetter, that doesn't really matter. If you want to, you could strain it some more. And the strainer that I'm using now, and it looks super cheap and it's not very expensive. Don't love the little pitcher that comes with it. It's this thing that you want. And the screen is very, very fine. So when I put in half a cup of soybeans to about 5 cups of water, I'm getting at least 1 cup of okara. And that's a lot of things I can be making with that. And this is in my Amazon store. And what I've been making soy milk with is the Mio Mat, which I don't have linked below right now, but if you go to one of my milk maker videos, you will be able to see that. And I just thought, I need to write that down. Okay, let's see what else we got. I know, isn't the bowl, I'm glad you guys like my witchy balls. I feel like now with witchin sauce, we've got it going on. Oh, and Doc says he also presses miso through the screen too. Doc, do you have, I would love to see what kind of strainer you're using, because when I went to the Asian store, I found one similar like this, but I'm really wanting to find something stainless steel. And you are the guy to find a gadget if there's ever one. Oh, that's a really good question. Ryan's saying, asking Doc, should we only buy miso that has to be refrigerated? And Doc says, in Japan, we never put it in the refrigerator, but it was cold outside. Once you crack the fermentation crock, I keep it in the fridge. It never really expires yet, but it will keep fermenting. Christine, we can talk a little bit, but right now, there's not, okay, so what could you use instead of the okara? You could use almonds. You could grind in almonds with some non-dairy milk and make that, and to kind of make this almond cream. You could use cashews, you could use sunflower seeds, but since I'm trying to make it with no nuts, if you were also, I'm trying to think, I had decided for some other substitute, you probably could use potatoes, but I think this would be a really bad one. I don't think that would be the way to go. Ooh, and Linda says she's finished with her 10-day water fast and now just enjoying the SOS-free delicious food. And I am making some more salt-free sauces. So on Wednesday, I'm at Chef AJ's at 1 o'clock, and we're going to make salt-free mustard, probably 2 ways, and we're going to make a salt-free hot sauce, because I know that can be hard to find too. See if I... Yeah, Ryan's saying he's used the strainer for yogurt. It really does. And I should add the one that comes with the lid. I will do that. I'll put a note to myself here. And I may get one, because I wouldn't mind having 2 strainers going at the same time. Oh, and Jess says she really wants to get a milk maker. Here, let me show you the Mio Mat real quick. This may or may not be the right one for all of you guys, and let me tell you this right now, if you're looking just to make oat milk, don't buy a milk maker. Your blender's going to do fine. The Mio Mat doesn't have a strainer, but it has this little thing that helps whirl things up better. The Almond Cow has a strainer, but I feel like the actual whirring time is really short, and I feel like I have to run 3 or 4 cycles. It costs a little bit more than the Mio Mat. It doesn't do heat. So if you want to do soy milk, which I like to, you can also do soups in here. And I think I will put it up here later, but if you look in any of my other videos, there's I think the code is Kathy Hester to go to miomat.com and get $15 off or something like that. But I like it because it blends really well. And if you go to healthyslowcooking.com and look up milk makers, I compare all of these too for you. The Soy Bella is great. It's usually a little cheaper. It has a screen, like one of those strainers. You can't put as much soybeans in there as I can in here. So I can make a real rich soy milk, rich enough to make like tofu or to make soy yogurt. And so it can be a help. Also with the Soy Bella, it doesn't cook it long enough to get the beanie taste gone away for me. That's a personal thing. This, I just run one cycle, but it will even run a second cycle if you feel like it's too beanie. When I was doing it in the Soy Bella, I was putting it in the Instant Pot for 10 minutes to get that beanie taste to go away. I was just cooking it on high pressure. And if you already have that and you love it, that's what you should keep. Okay, but if you don't have one, these are usually around $200. So I'll let you guys think about that. And if you have some questions for me, there are tons of milk makers. And if you make a lot of nut butter and things like that, the Nutri-Milk might be worth it. But the Nutri-Milk is $500. So what's best for me is the Miomat. The almond cow is fine too. Let's see what else we've got here. Annie, yay! I'm glad that you're here too. Aww, you came on just to say you appreciate me. I really appreciate that. Which, sorry to be so cheesy, but you know, I'm working with okara. What am I supposed to do? Let's see. Is okara something we can incorporate with the starch solution? And if you don't make your own soy milk, what could you use? Okay, so the starch solution that she's talking about is like the McDougall 12-day program that we did, which is just the general layer of that. He says to limit soy, but you can have soy. So I heard him say at one point, I think not more than 10 or 15% of your weekly. Stacy doesn't remember that, so she doesn't remember there being a limit on it, but that's what I heard. So yes, you can have some soy. What you don't want to do is have tofu scramble, tofu for lunch, tempeh for dinner, you know, silken tofu dessert and things like that. So you certainly can use okara. If you don't, the only way to get okara is to make your own soy milk, unless you live near an Asian market where you could buy it from someone who's making their own soy milk. Do not use okara flour for these at all. Apple says okara is the tribbles of cuisine. It kind of is. So if you're making soy milk regularly, I have it in the freezer. I mix up some spices with it and have ricotta in the freezer. You just have a lot of it. I believe you could also use like almond milk pulp. It's not going to be quite the same, but it'll be close enough. Maybe that's what I would do. Oh, the Archmira is my favorite small milk maker. And it's also the least expensive of the milk makers. I'm not a huge fan of the Nutter because it's very expensive and it's not as strong as the Archmira. I don't even know who makes the Archmira, but I love it. I've sent it to other people and you can do some cool stuff with that. So look at my YouTube channel. And there's like, I've made creamers, I've made Ninja Creamy pipe bases in there and done all kinds of cool things. Oh, Doc with a fun fact. You can make miso with okara. Doc, you need to come in and do miso class. I want a miso class. Oh, Lynette, welcome. Let's see, Lynette was saying hi to Apple. Welcome. We are glad to have you. And if you're Apple's neighbor, you're even more welcome. I don't know. Obviously, the words are not big in my head right now. Okay, if I missed anything else. Yes, and Hydron loves her Nutri-Milk. Makes spreads in it all the time. They come out super smooth, and that's the thing. So when we're talking about milk makers, it's about what kind of milk you want to make and possibly what other things you want to do, right? And what's really important to you and not. If not straining is really important to you, you may give up some other things. Like I can take my Miomat or Archmira on the road. I can make soup. I can make hot lattes, like tea lattes, just with throwing some cashews and a date in there and some tea. I can do a lot of things. If you're doing a lot of spreads, especially nut butters, the Nutri-Milk is amazing for that. And the reason I say, if that's not your thing, $500 is too much to pay for it just to make oat milk and almond milk, I think. Because I can make that and other things. But it strains things for you. So again, what are your priorities is what's really important. All right. Yay, and Lynette says hello to all of us. Betsy says she's trying to decide if she likes the Miomat. I think it's because it's not as easy as opening up a carton. And it's true. There is some effort, but it gets easier the more you do it. As far as cleaning with soy milk is harder because the okara really sticks to stainless steel. But I've got it down. I have it down to a science. It does not take me long at all anymore. The other thing that can be problematic when you start making your own non-dairy milks instead of buying them in the store is having a lot of pulp in there. And like for instance, did I put that back? No, not all the way. I'll show you this. So this is the strainer that comes with the Miomat. And we looked at this before. And so this is pretty fine. But then when you look at it compared to this, and yes, I need to clean this better, so my apologies. Like that's a huge difference. Like see, look at that versus this. So I found for Cheryl, getting this really extra fine, I think it's like a 200 micron or something, strainer, meant that she would actually use the soy milk instead of stealing my backup soy milks that I use sometimes for yogurts. Oh, Davinka, welcome. Yeah, and like Apple says, the cartons are easy. And so sometimes it just depends. Like, here's the thing. If you start making soy milk, and I know Apple's been making soy milk too, then you have this delicious okara left over that you can make all these free cheeses and kind of free bitchin sauce almost. It makes it a lot easier. I've been making several batches a week because I'm making new Ninja Creamy Pints and I'm using the okara for the base. I did some experiments so I can go down to doing just a half cup of an okara in the Ninja Creamy Pint, thickens it and makes it really as thick as store-bought ice cream. So it's pretty awesome. And it's all just free stuff. Hey Jill, it's awesome to see you. Both Jills, Jill D and Jill Caperton. You guys always show up about the same time, which is awesome. And Mona's here. All right, Doc's going to PT. It's awesome. Doc. I'll tell you guys this. But Doc is probably already gone. He says, I got to go to PT now, regretfully. Happy to get my dose of small country lady today. He thinks I'm small country lady. Love you almost as much as I love Cheryl, which is awesome. Okay. Yeah, Doc is awesome. He's hilarious and he managed not to curse. So I think that was a very special thing he did. Oh, a YouTuber that lives in Chicago is having a cooking get together. That's awesome. Betsy says, yeah, and we'll talk cleaning a little bit and then we'll get back to the bitchin sauce, and we will finish this up. Betsy says, I so appreciate your advice on cleaning after making soy milk. I'm at the sink the minute it's done. And I've shown you guys these OXO brushes that I like, right? And I've been finding them at Ross for like $3 or $4.99. These are my favorites. Okay, this doesn't look like much, but it's strong enough that it really just cleans everything the first time. This has a little thing for other things that you can get into just the minute places. So I'm sorry, Cheryl moved the camera closer to me and I'm not used to being able to not bend over to get it across the counter. So these are just awesome. They're awesome for milk makers, they're awesome for blenders, they're awesome for a lot of things. Okay. And let's see, another cleaning question. CJ says, honestly, a hot kettle of water goes a long way towards cleaning the soy milk maker and strainers. I just put boiling water in the arc mirror and run the clean cycle. Yeah, that would work for the Miomat too. I do find with the Miomat, some stuff comes up. I don't know. I also have just gotten used to it. Another reason why I love having this, it has a handle, whereas my dish is just a brush you hold like this. So I can go around the blades and not cut myself. So I just kind of, I don't even have to pay attention anymore. And I like that. I get my soybeans from Amazon. And I get the Laura's non-GMO. I think I just got a new bag. Yeah, I can show you the bag that I've been getting. They're not organic. I used to get an organic version that I haven't seen. But these are non-GMO. I'll show you from under here. Let's go back a little bit. Sorry, I know I'm probably making you a little dizzy. So these are the ones that I get, non-GMO, and certified. And they work great. It's actually from Chambers Family Farm. It's Laura Foods in Iowa. So, and it's got a best by date and all that. I've used them past the best by date and they did fine. It takes a while for me to use up a bag. I can't remember how much they were when I bought them last time, but it's a lot less than soy milk is costing these days. Oh, thank you, Lynette. I love this shirt too. I often pick my shirts on my moods. Not that that's really important for any of you to know. All right, so if anybody is new here, yes, there are many new people since we started. So hello, thank you for sticking through our squirrel version of Alive today. So what we're making is a nut-free, oil-free version of a Bitchin sauce. We're making it up together right now. So this is an experimentation. So what's in the bowl right now? You're like, that looks like mashed potatoes and gravy. I assure you it is not. It is okara, or the strained pulp from soy milk making process. And the first thing I did is I squeezed half a lemon in here, and then we did half a teaspoon of miso, and I mixed it together until it looks like this gravy stuff, so it would be dissolved. We're also going to add a few other things. We're going to add some garlic powder, some nooch. We're not going to add Bragg's coconut aminos or salt because miso is going to be our salt for this. And then we'll see if we want these other things. There was cumin and cayenne in the original version. And this one we're mixing. We're going to do another one that we blend after this, and we're going to make cilantro jalapeno sauce, which I thought could be really fun. Ooh, more comments. Oh, Cheryl's here. Cheryl says, like the new setup, easier to show stuff. So the camera used to be where I'd have to lean over here to show things, which is why you're probably like, why is she always like the lady who has her head here at Zooms, right? But with my demos, it's because I am a short person. And so she moved the camera probably 6 inches closer to me. TS says, is your oat milk recipe 3 cups of water to 1 cup old-fashioned oats, then pour through the strainer? That is more of my oat cream recipe for, I'm trying to remember, do I say 1 cup or half a cup of oats? Now I can't remember. Usually I do 3 cups of water, 1 cup of ice. I think it's 1/4 to 1 cup of oats, depending if you're looking for skim milk to whole milk style, thickness. And then through a fine mesh strainer, yes, that would be correct. You absolutely can make soy milk without a machine. So what you have to do, and just like you can make soy milk in the almond cow or soy milk in the Nutrimilk, and they don't have heat, you cook the soy beans first. So you could actually you could buy that whole bag of soybeans, you could cook half of them, and then you could freeze them in the size you would use per batch of soy milk. Then you could just do those soybeans in with the water. And technically you can either cook the soybeans first and then blend them into milk, or you can take the hard soaked soybeans, like I would still soak them, puree them with water, and then cook the milk on the stove. That's up to you. It's like a Chinese or a Japanese way. So you can decide how you want to do that. So yes, you absolutely can make soy milk without a machine. I just found it's so much easier because then I just have one thing to clean up instead of a pot that I cleaned up. But I think if you batched it like that, it would be well worth it. Okay. Yep. And that's what Apple was saying too. Can we make Bitchin sauce without okara? Well, I think you could probably make it with almond milk pulp. You could have a half a cup of almonds that you soak and pulse until it looks kind of like this. This is what, if we were making nut full Bitchin sauce, we would probably use about a half a cup of almonds. And you could either soak them, take the skins off, or use the slivered almonds. I often use the toasted slivered almonds, to tell you the truth, even though they say to use raw, because then I don't have to peel anything off and it's still gonna look a little whiter. So that's up to you. So hopefully that helps a little bit. All right, so let's get to trying some stuff out. I've got a couple more ingredients to add. And let's get a 1/4 teaspoon. Let's get some more. There's going to be a lot of tasting spoons. And now I'll let this come down a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to try to start off with a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic. I'm going to use, actually, we're looking at nutritional yeast we want to add in there. And we don't want to make it like super, super cheesy, so I think I'm going to put a teaspoon in there to start off with, and we're going to mix this in and see how this all goes together. Actually, we can probably mix it in with one of our taster spoons. So one of the reasons we're doing this is to keep some of that bumpy consistency. And it uses a lot of oils, so what I was thinking, and so a lighter miso would make this not turn brown. And if you're going to use a darker miso, you could leave those almond skins on, or use almond pulp. I think that would be fine. Now, it's a much thinner sauce than this, but I'm going to taste it. Ooh, that tastes pretty delightful. The lemon makes it really tangy. The miso gives it a little bit of funk, just like the Bragg's or the coconut aminos or soy sauce would. It definitely tastes salty enough. I wouldn't want it more cheesy than that. So I think 1 teaspoon of nooch is probably good. And I did a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic, but I think I'm going to turn that to a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic. I think it could use a little more seasoning. Oh, awesome. CJ says, hooray, okara recipe. I have bags and bags in my freezer, right? And it's very easy to do, because what will happen is you'll be in a mood. But if you make one batch of soy milk every week, you're going to end up with, 52 cups of okara by the end of the year. Just going to mix this in really good. And what I'm going to do too, imagine this, I have a lot of soy milk too. Yes, I think that's really good. I think what I would do too is I'm going to change the lemon juice to 1 tablespoon only, because I think this is a little bit too lemony. And I'm going to put a little bit of non-dairy milk, and in my case this is going to be soy milk. And I think I'm going to measure it in tablespoons, because we're probably making what you would get in like an 8-ounce container, something like that. Ooh, Apple's been dehydrating and grinding the okara, which is pretty awesome. I love that. I love that. Okay, so I'm measuring it in tablespoons because I don't want to go too far. But honestly, I've had bitchin sauce before. We'll start with 2 tablespoons and we'll see how that goes. And what it could be for you is if your okara was wetter than mine, maybe you wouldn't need all that. And it's starting to look a little hummusy, so I think we probably can go a little further than this, honestly. Let me get this. I'll get this little bit out of there. Here we go. Just want to get all that from the sides. And if you notice when you open up bitchin sauce, I mean, there's a lot of oil in it, like just oil, not just nut oil. And so this gives us a little bit of texture. You can't see it so good. You sort of can. So it gives us a little texture. Let's try, I'm going to try 2 more tablespoons. And you could choose not to make it more liquidy if you want it to be like a spread for, I don't know, like your veggie burger, something like that. And I'm going to ask Alexa something. So everybody, Alexa, how many tablespoons in a 1/4 cup?
1/4 cup is 4 tablespoons.
Yeah. So a 1/4 cup of milk is what we're using now. And see, to me, this is starting to look a little more like it. It's not going to look exactly like it because we're making it with completely different things. It's a whole new thing. But, you know, when you want to substitute, you want it to have some of the things you had before. So okara is the closest thing that's going to give you some texture. You probably could, honestly, you guys who all don't want to use okara, you probably could use a 1/2 cup of beans that you puree in there too. Oh, and I feel that, right? This is the most pseudo cursing I've done on the show ever. But bitchin isn't properly a bad word, which is kind of hilarious. And what is bitchin sauce? Asked Lee. So it is a commercially available sauce. You can get it at Costco, at Target. It was one of the first vegan sauces that was everywhere. So it's been everywhere since before the pandemic. It has oil, almonds, spices. So usually it's like water, oil, almonds, lemon juice, nutritional yeast, garlic. It says spices. Yeah, it's almond and oil based with lots of different flavors. So we're going to make another flavor. And I've never had this other flavor of bitchin sauce. So since it's witchin sauce, it's going to be Kathy's way. Okay, so we're going to try this. And basically, it's a sauce you could dip veggies in. You could use as a spread. I think it's pretty good. I think it does need something else. So I was trying to get away with making a plain one and not putting cumin and things in there. So let's go, since it's witchin sauce and no longer bitchin sauce, let's add in some smoked paprika. And it uses cayenne pepper, but why don't we use New Mexican chili powder? All my ingredients are still everywhere from earlier. Yeah, let's just do, I'm going to put in 1/2 teaspoon of, let's try 1/4 teaspoon of smoked paprika. I'm going to be good, y'all. I'm going to be good. Usually I just want to get in there and just put too much stuff in, but I need to show you how I'm telling you to do it. So instead of having cumin, and I find cumin can be very overpowering in a dip like this. That doesn't mean you can't put it in yours, but I think the top part makes a nice base. You could use it in something that you would use mayonnaise for, I think. It doesn't taste just like mayo. If you wanted to make an okara mayo, we could. We would use kalanamak if you're able to use salt. That's what would happen. Okay. That just made it way better for me. And I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of New Mexican red chili powder. So literally that could be guajillo, that could be ancho. It's, you know, I got in my Rancho Gordo box some New Mexican chili. And we could even go further in here. I could add jalapeno powder. I could add some cumin if it starts feeling, you know, Mexican-y to me. You could also have gone a Middle Eastern way, and we could have put cumin and coriander maybe, or some sumac in there. Maybe some za'atar seasoning on top. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. I still think the lemon could come down a little bit, but I'm going to try and get this recipe up too. So we'll see. We'll see if the other one is even better. So let me move these things aside. I'll see if there's any questions. And then we'll start making a cilantro jalapeno one with a blender. Oh yeah. Yeah, it needs some deep flavors because like the lemon, it just is really too strong. I think the lemon I had too much in as well. You know, probably some extra miso would be really good in there. So I think I'm also going to take it up to 1 teaspoon of miso for the actual recipe. And we might be able to go up. Let me try 1 more teaspoon of nooch and see if that was a little bit too far or not. But they have, I looked at all the flavors. They have caramelized onion, eggplant olive, avocado serrano chili, buffalo, pesto, Bombay. So again, with that base, you could put garam masala in there. You could, what else? And they've got a chipotle one. You could put chili powder. You could make it like hummus and do dill pickle. Yeah, I think that helped too. So yeah, we're going to do 2 teaspoons of nooch. That's not bad. I think the sodium could be a little bit higher for me. All right, let me see if I can move some stuffs. Let me get another 1/2 cup of this in here. And then I'm going to use the blender. So it's going to be smoother, but one of the things with the okara is, and I just thought about this too, and I think I said it before. I think those of you that I was saying there's not really a substitute, I think drained and pureed beans should work fine. But then you're really kind of just making a hummus or a bean dip. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I'm going to have to, this was an impromptu thing. I'm going to have to make more soy milk, soak some soybeans so I can make more Ninja Creamy Pies tomorrow. I might have just enough to make one. And for those of you who may not have heard that, I have been using a 1/2 cup of okara. And I'm sorry, I'm doing too many things at the same time. 1/2 cup of okara in the pint. And it's made it really, really awesome. Oh, thanks, Plants Only Muncher. I did get a haircut because my hair was getting a little, my hair grows so fast, and then like overnight, then it's all kinds of crazy. It can be crazy town. All right, I'm going to get the beast out. So hydrant if you're still there. And I've got the little container of the beast. So why the beast instead of the Vitamix? The only reason is this is tiny, and I don't have, even the smaller container for the Vitamix isn't this tiny. And I probably could use the size up from this. And right now, if you've got a Costco, these are like $70, $67 or something like that. This has like a 100-watt motor. It blends spices beautifully. I think it blends spices better than my Ninja spice grinder. So go to Costco and get your stuff. Okay, where am I going to take notes for this one? I have no space, y'all. Okay, I think I can do it here. All right. And this is going to be, cilantro, jalapeno. So this could end up being almost like a little jalapeno crema. Let me get a lime. Let's do a lime instead of a lemon. Got some jalapeno powder. Got a real jalapeno. We're gonna see how hot it is. You guys are gonna get to witness me do that. It's a big one. In general, they have not been very hot, but I got this at an Asian market. So I could be really sorry that I'm about to do what I'm gonna do. Just put my tongue on this. Nope, it's mild. So always, you guys, if you always touch your tongue to it before you put a piece in your mouth. So, because if it's really, really hot, the oils are already going to be there and you're going to be sad. And crunching it, then you're just done. So this is almost green peppery, like a bell pepper, with just a tiny bit of heat. So we'll see how many pieces we put in there. But that'll give it some nice flavor, even if it's not giving it heat. I could add seeds in if I wanted to try and give it some heat, but I live with Cheryl. So you guys know I'm not going to give it any heat. Okay. And let's see. Oh, Betsy said I just joined Costco so I could get the beast deal. I'm trying to decide if I should get a backup one. I think the seeds must be hot because I'm just starting to cough like I had something spicy around. But I got a piece of it in my mouth. It's not spicy at all. Oh, it's $69.97. So that's awesome. Yeah, it's really good. Oh, Serenity Bloom says that she does a bitchin sauce with white beans and Kathy's spice blend, my Cajun spice blend. That sounds delightful, actually. The Beast is quieter, and the NutriBullet can be loud. Like this, I'm on my third Ninja, even though actually I went back to the second one because the third one that I got, I did get it refurbished, but it smells kind of burny, so I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I'm not going to get rid of the Ninja because I have all those accessories, but I really have liked this, and this definitely does a better job. The Beast is still around $2.50 in Canada. And that's what, I think that's what they about started out at here. And Linda said she was debating it for a while. So did you get it or did you not get it? Is what I want to know. Oh, I love that. Betsy says we need to make a road trip up to Canada to bring you care packages. I would love that. That would be awesome. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this ½ cup of okara, just like we did before. We're going to put it in our little cup. Hopefully it'll be enough to blend. Should be. Once we get everything else in there. And I'm probably going to go ahead and add some liquid to make it easier to blend as well. And it won't have this quite the same ricotta texture-ish of it. Okay, so I've got ½ cup okara. Let's go ahead and I'm still going to do 2 teaspoons of nooch. I am thinking of skipping miso for this one and just using some salt. And you guys can just use miso or leave out the salt. always. So I know I'm going to put about a half teaspoon of salt in here. I want it to be fairly salty because I'm going to be putting it on other things and using it as a sauce. But you could use less or to taste. All right, so let's get another, I'm thinking we need at least a tablespoon of pepper. I can let you guys see from overhead. It's not very exciting what I'm doing, but maybe you want to know. So maybe I'll get a little bit more. Also, when you're taking the seeds out, these ribs can also be spicy. And I'm just cutting them up to make it a little easier, make it blend easier, hopefully. So I'm going to put 1 tablespoon fresh jalapeno, and I'm going to put 1 tablespoon mild fresh jalapeno, because then I'm probably going to add in some jalapeno powder to make it be a little spicier if all wins out as planned. I'm also going to put in some lime juice. So it's a great way to take out your anger. It's like it's pollen apocalypse, people. Let's roll that lemon. And I think I'm going to start for this one. Let's see if we can just do about I don't know if I can squeeze it into this. Sort of can. I'm going to try starting with just a teaspoon instead of even a tablespoon. With the lime, it might not be so bad. So see, I'm squeezing it straight into the teaspoon. So we'll try 1 teaspoon of lime juice. Okay, we're going to get some cilantro too, and I think we're going to end up with at least a 1/4 cup of cilantro. Ooh, new comments. Ooh, that's nice. You got the Ninja Creamy for $179.99. That's awesome. We're going to go later this afternoon to pick up some stuff, so I can let you guys know what I see there too. I am going to probably do at least a 1/4 cup of cilantro. And stems for anything that you're pureeing is great. So I'm going to make sure the stems go in there. I'm going to call it a 1/4 cup. I'm going to call it a 1/4 packed cup. So that should be about to there. Get any other stemmy pieces. We can use some of this other stuff to decorate later. I like cilantro. If you don't, then then perhaps you should not do this. You should leave this. You could leave the cilantro out. I'm going to go ahead and do 1, 2, 3, 4, like we did before, so it'll blend easier. So that's a 1/4 cup. Okay. We did put salt in. We put nuchin. I'm tempted to put some jalapeno powder in there as is, but let's blend this up and taste it. This one's going to have some heat. Every time I open up jalapeno powder, I make myself cough like that. Every time. You would think I would learn, but I don't think that's going to happen. If Doc was here, he'd be like, "You're not ever going to learn." Did we put any garlic in here? We did not. Let's go ahead and we put how much last time? We put I think a teaspoon. Let's start with half a teaspoon of garlic. All right. Slash it around, we'll blend it up, then we'll taste it, and then we'll see what needs to be adjusted. Oh, that's a great question. I have not experienced leakage, but it's a great question. So let me put this up. Apple says, has anyone experienced leakage with the Beast blender? And I feel like I get them a lot with the Ninja. The more you go back, so the second time I'm more likely to have it. This screws on really well, and then you have to screw it around this way to even get it to where it will start, so it's less likely. And we'll see, I may have added too much liquid. We'll find out in the end. Oh, it's a pretty green color though. I like that. So I find what happens as far as leaking is that this stuff comes around. So since this is thick, it's not going to. If it was milk and I did this, and it's already getting in the edges, and that's when it starts leaking a little bit more. I think this is a good texture. So see, it's kind of like fluffy hummus texture. All right, let me taste it. Ooh, that's really good. That's really good. The first one is okay. This is magic. So I really like this one, and it's perfect. As it is now, it doesn't have really any heat, and Cheryl could use it. Let me let you guys see the color from overhead. Like, look how pretty. Isn't that pretty? And so, and you can see up in here too. See how sometimes in the sides there. So as it gets screwed on, some of that can come up to the second one and then the topper one. And that's when you're more likely to get a leakage. And let me grab, if I'm looking at this Ninja one, I am too short for my counter. It just has one layer, and I can show you guys this. And this is actually, I didn't really think about this, but this is a great reason to use the Beast over this. It's so on this side, the outside is where kind of the screw part is. It's on the inside with this. So as you take this off, it's going to be down in this little valley or moat. When you're squeezing it in here, when you're screwing it in, you're not getting to the moat till the end. Here, as you push it down and then screw it in, you're more likely to get leakage from this, just the way it is, to go down in here and screw it. So I hope that helps a little bit. Yeah, I think this is an awesome spring green. This would be delightful on top of some queso, like if you wanted to make the oat queso, make some nachos with some of your baked tortilla chips and things like this. And again, it's not that this one is somehow bad, and I think it's better with this. I think my changed recipe will be a little better, but I think it's just a little too sour, so I'm fixing that for you guys. But so this is more of like smoky. So this would be, I wouldn't say like their Chipotle one, but it would be the mild version of that. So it has a mild chili and smoked paprika. And now that it's in my mouth, I like it. I just wish it had less lemon juice, which is what you guys will get. And this one I think is just perfect the way it is. If you don't use salt, you could put miso in this too. It's not the, and you could add up some extra miso in this one, I think. So maybe I'll do that too. I'll up the miso a little bit. Did I already do that? Yeah, upped it to 1 teaspoon. So I think that will really make that perfect, if that makes sense. Do you guys have any questions? it was just you hanging out with me while we make some new stuff. My bouillon is cooking. Now I probably took the lid off, so it'll have to cook a little longer, but that's okay. So if you didn't see that in the beginning, I used some spring onions, some extra parsley, and some things like that in the bouillon that I'm making in this slow cooker. And when I went outside to show you guys Pollenpocalypse, you guys asked for bitchin sauce, and now we have witchin sauce. We have two versions of witchin sauce. We have smoky, and do we want to call this? What do we want to call this one? I guess we could just call it jalapeno cilantro. Jalapeno cilantro witchin sauce, smoky witchin sauce, and oh, good, Jess. I'm glad. I hope it helps. So the reason I do make up things in Kathy's Cooking Club, a lot of times we make up things because I think seeing the deciding factors, how somebody tastes it, what things they're considering. So I try to think out loud as much as possible. CJ, you might want to put that under one of Stacy's shows. She's asking to have Stacy show us how she does the overnight oats. She probably does it similar to what like we do oats overnight. So what we do is 1 cup of steel cut oats, 4 cups of water, and cook on low overnight in the slow cooker. And that makes I think it's supposed to be 4 normal people servings. I think whole food plant-based, it makes 2 ginormous servings. So hopefully that helps. I make overnight oats, and maybe we'll, excuse me, sometimes the pollen gets in the house. I was coughing all night. What was I gonna, oh, I was so close. Oh, overnight oats. So I need to make some yogurt, and so when I make yogurt, a lot of times then in mason jars, I will use non-dairy milk, yogurt, chia seeds, and rolled oats and different fruits and things, and make a week's worth of overnight oats. Then I just eat them from the fridge. I do that in the summer, but you could heat those up as well. Aw, thanks, Nikki. That was very sweet. Oh, the one we do. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it's just 1 cup. And if you go to plantbasedinstantpot.com, if you want to learn how to do oats in the Instant Pot, that's a great place to do. I have a couple there. If you go to healthyslowcooking.com, there should be some slow cooker oats. I took a lot of them down so that I can rework them and put them back up. Oh, I think that's a great idea, Apple. I'd love to hear how other people do their overnight oats. Let's start a thread in Heartbeat. Go for it. That sounds lovely. Betty Ann says, thank you. This was great. Cheryl's going to be excited because now we have sauces. And these are McDougall compliant. It's not like I'm going to sit here and eat a bowl of it. But, you know, I would maybe top something with it. Like, to me, this spread would be really good. We've got those actual veggie burgers, something like that. But also, this would not be horrible to do mashed chickpeas and have a smoky chickpea salad or something like that with some veggies or pickles or something like that. So these are definitely condiments, but they could be dips. And, you know, it's really nice to have kind of like a nice cilantro crema that you can put on things. Oh no, they were still at ours last time. I cannot find the sprouted rolled oats at Costco. They do things and then they go away, which makes me very, very sad. But, you know, sometimes they do what they do and we don't have any control over it. Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, it'd be great on a baked potato. This one would be great. Either one of them would be great. I think this one would be great with some black beans and like sauteed corn, onion, and red peppers, or like that edamame mix from Trader Joe's. So that could be really good. This could be nice as a smoky, bacony, you know, creamy component. Probably both of them would be nice in mashed potatoes. And okara by itself, for those of you making a lot of soy milk, just make some mashed potatoes and throw that cup of okara in with your mashed potatoes because that's a traditional Japanese way to eat it. And it's got lots of fiber, you know, it's great. And usually what we're doing is composting that. And it makes a really nice firm base. So again, I think you could use beans. It's just going to be a little more hummus-like. You might have to add a little more liquid or something like that. Plants Only Muncher asks, will you be posting these recipes somewhere? Somewhere and sometime. It may be later this week or over the weekend. I will do my best to get them up as soon as I can. But it might be a little bit because I kind of have a bunch of things. I wasn't planning on doing these, but I would like to get them up where everybody can see them. And I like Kathy's Witchin sauce. I like that a lot. So these are definitely also going to be in the Potions and Powders book that's going to come out in the fall too, or some other variations. All right, guys, big hugs. Have an amazing day. And I may just be popping up a lot this week, but I'm going to try and get a schedule by the end of the week, okay? Have a good first day of second quarter, first day of April, first day of the week, and just think about what can you do today that really can help you further your goal a little bit. Is it making a sauce that doesn't have any of the things that you would normally get when you buy it out? Or do you need to maybe bake some potatoes or cook up a batch of rice? Just do one or two, if you can manage it, things that will help future you right now if you can. All right, and then let me know in the comments what you're doing. All right, you guys have a great day, and I will talk to you very, very soon.